Hello everyone, welcome to a LEGO Star Wars set review. To have a look at set number 7965, the Millennium Falcon. This set released officially on June 1st of 2011. This set contains 1,254 pieces, 6 minifigures, and is a New Hope set that, is from Star Wars. So, yeah, if you do want to enjoy this review, please make sure to hit that like button as well as subscribe. Let's jump right into this gigantic set review. Oh boy, where to begin with a big set review like this one? This is by far my first ever Playscale Millennium Falcon I've ever reviewed, so bear with me here if it's a little janky. But yeah, this one definitely screams 2011 vibes. Biggest thing to me that screams that is just how the radar dish is assembled. Just you can see it uses droid battle droid arms, and I wouldn't be surprised if, like, in a year from now of having this built and on display, I'm gonna have to replace those battle droid clips because it's in a very stressful clip position, and odds are I knock it or something like that, and yeah, I imagine I'm gonna have to replace that. I have had times where some of the stickers were peeling or just falling off. It's just, again, one of those things that happens within a very aged product like this. So it's just simple as just reapplying it. It's brand new stickers, to be fair, but yeah, where to begin? So I do have all the minifigures still inside here, just displayed so you guys can see. Now, with how this works is the idea is you're supposed to remove every individual flap, like so. And you can see the interior. So for this little area right here, you have the lounge area with the space checkers. And you can see how I got Princess Leia and Vader in there, just talking it out, and there is a little control panel section in the back there. There's some nice detailing there, so you can fit 2 minifigures right there. There's just a lot of interior space with this, which you guys will see is a pro and a con with this set. As someone who owns different Millennium Falcons from different years. So removing more of these panels, you can see that there is a resting area in the corner here, and that looks okay for execution. I can grab a random minifigure here to give you guys an example how that looks with one of them laying down. So taking good old Luke there. I mean, it fits the minifigure, sure, just enough. I don't know, it just feels a little weird for a resting bed, but hey, it's the thought that counts overall. But yeah, this section as well is another one that isn't exactly my favorite. It's supposed to represent the hyperdrives, but based on just how exactly they are attached, which is just one brick to Technic piece thing attached, they are a bit loose. I kind of wish that would just stay in place, but it's just a little nitpicky things. I think it's also worth mentioning that there is a wrench hammer of sorts there on a clip. Not sure why. Maybe so you could, bonk that hyperdrive so that stays in place. You have some little switches over here as well on this corner. And turning this around even more, you can see there is a little red thing in the corner there, and that is used so that you can push, I think it's up, the little cargo hold area. And I don't really know how best to show this off, but just give me a moment here. By removing the phone from my little stand, you can see that there's just an area that you can use as a cargo hold, which is a nice detail, but I feel like it's a little hard to get your fingers in there to really feel motivated to put anything in there. I mean, yeah, sure, you could try fitting good old Luke in there. It just, just as is, it's not going to close. But in theory, yeah, you could close it and have just one minifigure tucked away if you wanted to recreate the scene from A New Hope. And, yeah, that's just, it's a nice feature. It's not something I am familiar with the other Falcons in my collection. But anywho, while we're here, I might as well show off the training droid section, which is at the back corner here. You got a little loose crate, which presumably you can put the lightsaber in. I don't know why, because if you're going to be swooshing this around, it's going to fall out of the crate and then fall out through the gappy sides there. for example, but you do you, I guess. You do also have some studs, or a stud and a cone piece, if you want to swap out Luke Skywalker's training helmet or his hairpiece. As you guys have seen I've done here, that is a cursed look for that figure, but we're going to carry on here. But yeah, closing up these flaps, you can see just how this Falcon looks on the backside, and just the sticker detailing. I do like the use of the, what is it, Bionicle pipe piece to make up the back of the ship, like the engine of sorts. That's cool. I like that detail overall. Very nicely executed. Turning this guy around and flipping open these two flaps here, you could just have some more interior access. And I should probably mention, before I close everything back up, on the adjacent side there is another ramp, although, you know, instead of flipping up, this one is supposed to flip downwards, as you guys can see there. So taking the Millennium Falcon and flipping it like so, hold on here, like so, you can see just how much off the ground that thing is. So it's okay. It's an attempt, you know, for a play scale Falcon. They're trying to cram as much detail as they can in there, and I applaud them for attempting as much. But anywho, closing up all these flaps, I can show you the underside of this beautiful ship. So very carefully turning this and putting it on its side, you can just see overall how the detail is on the bottom of the ship. Not something that you're going to see a lot of, but just thought it's worth mentioning nonetheless. I like they went through the added extra effort of adding a bottom cannon, which you can turn around, pose, and angle however you guys want. It is also probably worth mentioning there is some flick fire missiles, so presumably when you're like handling this, you can one-handed handle this and then just flick these flick fire missiles. I am not sure if older versions of the Falcon have this, but it is an interesting choice nonetheless, given that it's a bit awkward to kind of hold this with two hands, at least in terms of a kid's point of view, and then just, you know, oh, let's do the flick fire missiles. It probably would have been better if there was like some sort of mechanism to fire these missiles, but it's there. I haven't had any issues moving this back and forth where I've worried about like the tips of the missiles going missing, so I guess there's that as well. It's probably also worth mentioning, you know, there's the top gunner cannon there, and you'll see with like newer Falcons, they fixed this issue, but as of for this set, it's kind of held on just by two studs like that. So that you can see, you kind of just wiggle it off. There's a sticker piece right there. You can get a full 360 of this, which is nice. Although the sticker detailing on the half of this did give me a bit of anxiety placing, because you want to line it up just right, and you don't want to really mess it up, which I don't think I have, in my opinion. You can feel free to correct me in the comment section down below if you think I did a crap job. But anywho, there is the gunner thing, which is interesting because in, again, newer ones, they have it facing the opposite way, where, you know, you pull out, this one you pull out just like this, but in newer ones it goes in like that, if that makes sense. But anywho, you can kind of see how that's just held in place between those two tan pieces, just like gravity do the work, you know, but it kind of wiggles in place. So the idea is you're just going to put two minifigures in there. Very simplistic design, which I guess works for, again, a 2011 set. And you just put that in there and carry on with your build. And then finally, moving on to probably my favorite aspect of this set overall, outside of just it as a whole, is the cockpit, which, as you can see, I've displayed the iconic Chewbacca and Han Solo. And you just remove this little printed cockpit piece, and there you go. There you have your minifigures. Just based, again, just how this is a dated build, I don't like how this wiggles, and that's just plain and simply based on the fact of how it is built, using a singular Technic brick thing right there, and attaches to there. So, I mean, there's obviously the room to do another one, but for some reason, they chose not to. So it would have been going a long way if they probably could somehow make it so that the other one at the bottom could just fit in there, and that would probably solve the wiggle issue. Again, newer versions have absolutely tackled this, I believe. but it's just still worth pointing out as a complaint in my opinion. But in here, removing these two guys right here, and I guess detaching this, you can just see just how that is done. It's a very simplistic thing. It definitely looks like the interior of the Falcon's cockpit, and that's totally fine. You know, for a 2011 set, I don't really mind. It looks fine as is. Anywho, I feel like that pretty much covers everything regarding this magnificent piece of history. So let's go ahead and have a look at those minifigures. So starting off with the two most iconic minifigures for this set, we have Han Solo and Chewbacca. This is my first time getting the original Chewbacca minifigure, which came in a total of 14 sets since the first ever Star Wars stuff came out. I mean, this is the mold they went through. Up until I think this is like his last appearance, one of his last appearances, if I'm not mistaken. And then Han Solo, he's just definitely fitting for this time period as well. I don't like how the flesh tone on the torso doesn't really match the minifigure. I would say Lego has improved on that, but I mean, Lego kind of has their moments of things not matching, so I'm just going to leave that as is. Oh, I'm just noticing the tan as well doesn't match the arms. Oh, ay. Anywho, I like the hip print piece on his legs there. It's kind of a questionable choice to include a regular blaster when I know that they had the musket pieces kicking around still. I think this is... No, they did have the short blasters released this year, so they totally could have. Just a questionable choice overall. There is no double-sided facial expression for Han, so not going to bother removing the facial expression to show that. But yeah, classic minifigures. Let's move on to the next two. For our next two minifigures, we have Luke Skywalker and old Ben Kenobi. Ben Kenobi is an exclusive variant to this set, as he just has that hood piece. You know, otherwise, you know, if you swap it out for his hair piece, which probably should have been included with this set, but it wasn't. But I mean, I'm not gonna really nitpick too much. It's fine as is. So yeah, you got that figure, and I do believe, try my best not to mess around with the cape here because it is the construction paper material. There is no back torso print. Okay, my bad. So yeah, this is around the time period where they didn't really do cloth fabric capes. So you have the construction paper-esque material for a cape, which is not my favorite overall, but I get it. It's for the times, you know? Anywho, as for Luke Skywalker, he is an exclusive variant just to this set. And as far as I understand, we don't have anything quite like this. So you can see I have him displayed with the X-Wing pilot helmet in light bluish gray. And that's kind of just how they want him on display, because his face, one side of the face has like the face shield so that he can do the Jedi training, which is shown for a few shots in the movie. And like I showed in the set, you can choose to display the helmet or the hairpiece, but then you could just swap the head around and then put on his hairpiece like so, and boom, you got yourself a regular old farm boy Luke. Now, I'm not sure how they would tackle this in a modern day Luke Skywalker with the visor piece. I imagine they could do something similar, but I also am leaning towards the fact of how they tackled it in the video games using the new one-time use helmet piece for the X-Wing. I'll include a screenshot here of what I'm talking about. It's how I would prefer them to tackle it again, but odds are if they were to try and tackle a figure like this again, they just do it just exactly like this. And that's totally fine. I don't really have any issue with that overall. But yeah, definitely a nice looking minifigure overall for these two. And for our final two minifigures, you have Princess Leia and Darth Vader. Princess Leia, according to the box, was a brand new version just for this set. And I'm sure it just boils down to being an exclusive variant and such. So, I mean, this is my first New Hope Leia minifigure. I have no complaints. I like getting that croissant hair piece. You do have a double-sided facial expression for her as well if you want to display it either way. And then this Darth Vader, I'll admit, I'm a little nostalgic for. I remember getting this guy in a watch many years ago, so getting this figure brand new is actually kind of nice for me personally, overall, and it just is I don't want to say classic Vader, because then I think of the earlier 2000s, but this to me is a classic. You know, you got the burnt Anakin head with the little scars there and all that. Just overall, if someone were to ask me which is a nice in-between Darth Vader that's just not too overly detailed, but just overall nice, I'd point to this minifigure. And again, it uses the construction paper fabric material cape, whoop-de-doo. But yeah, as much as I love this Darth Vader, I do question its inclusion, but I'll save that for my final thoughts. Anywho, let's have a look at what else is included with this set. So, before we have an official look at the instructions, I did keep the original packaging that came with this set, and I just thought it was very interesting and worth pointing out in this review that it came packaged in a plastic bag with a cardboard sleeve insert to make sure it didn't bend. Now, obviously, nowadays, you just have a cardboard sleeve that just does the same thing. It's like a cardboard envelope, but still, I thought it was pretty cool and worth mentioning. As for the sticker sheet, this is what it looks like, and no, you're not seeing things wrong. There is no numbering to the stickers, so trying to figure out which sticker was which was a bit of a chore, but, you know, nothing that I couldn't handle. But anywho, taking out these instructions, you have two numbered instructions, and the first one, you know, just kind of gets the frame built and such. You have on a few pages there the classic Darth Vader, which is very nice. Like, again, this is a 2011 set. It's not as sturdy as today's standards, but, you know, for the most part, I've had this set in my collection for a few months, and I'm not overly disliking the sturdiness of the build, so that's a good thing, I guess. It stands up to today's standards. Anywho, flipping to the end of this, you can see where that instruction booklet ends off, and then it just tells you to go to booklet 2, so having a look at that. It's the same looking instructions, it just has number 2 on there, and again, just carries along. Oh yeah, it's probably worth showing off. When applying a sticker, it just tells you, peel off a sticker, figure it out, which, not a huge fan of. I definitely struggled through that, on top of trying to align everything. But anywho, when you do get to the back of the instructions, it does just show the Falcon with the minifigures, as well as a parts listing that goes on for a few pages here. And then it shows you the play features for the Falcon, in case you couldn't figure that out for yourself. A whole page dedicated to just the minifigures. Cool, I guess. And then some other 2011 Star Wars sets, which I'm sure a lot of you, myself included, are going to be nostalgic for. And then a mini poster of sorts that's also doubles as an advertisement. So that's cool. Then you have an advertisement for Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, the video game. Very interesting game, not gonna lie. Then you have Lego Club, and then just the Lego Win Kid at the back. Talk about nostalgia. Now, as for the extra pieces, this was everything I got included with my copy of the set, which is different than what the Bricklink listing says is what is guaranteed extras. I don't know, like, I spent, like, the better part of, like, half an hour on stream figuring out if these were extras or not. And, yeah, they are. It's probably just a factory fluke in my case, but regardless, these are extra copies that were just included with my set. So, yay. Now, I'm sure there's going to be someone out there that's very curious on how this Millennium Falcon looks next to another Millennium Falcon. So here is the solo Millennium Falcon. You can kind of see how these two kind of pair up. And yes, they are both up against the wall. So you can kind of see just overall how these two compare. So yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. And then comparing this to another Falcon. Another recent example, I guess, is just the Dark Falcon. Actually, this is the first time noticing that this one is actually a little bit longer than the Dark Falcon. So I guess it's kind of interesting. You can see the little differences over time, 2011 versus 2024. It's just all those little differences there. Anywho, that's that question answered for anyone who was wondering how these two compare. So you may be wondering, is this set good? Does it still hold up to today's standards? And I mean, I want to say no. There's definitely better build techniques nowadays. You know, if you wanted to use the solo Millennium Falcon as a starting point and then getting everything after that, I feel like you'd be pretty satisfied if you're looking for a solid Millennium Falcon build. My main issue with this set, I guess, is just the quality of the stickers over time, just not holding up, especially if it's like, you know, I had this built for a few months and I've already had stickers that just want to fall off. And again, this is a set that I built sealed, brand new. So, I mean, yeah, cool, good to know, I guess. But I'm not a huge fan of just how, I don't know, bland and boring the interior is. There's not a whole lot of detail. Like, yeah, I can see a lot of where people who were designing this set had their headspace in terms of just, you know, trying to cram as much as they could for the time. But yeah, nowadays there's definitely a lot better Millennium Falcons that you could choose from. Now, in terms of minifigures that are based on the original trilogy, no, this is the Falcon, you know, in my opinion, for the closest you're going to get to a complete cast of Millennium Falcon characters that are based off of A New Hope. And that brings me to my next issue, which is, why is there Darth Vader included in this set? Now, I am like, okay, why didn't you bother including, I don't know, the most iconic characters to include with the Millennium Falcon that are missing here? R2-D2 and C-3PO? Like, the box art shows, yes, it's landing on the Death Star in the landing thing, whatever. So it almost makes me want to say, okay, if they're not going to include R2 and 3PO, and they're going to include Vader, throw in a stormtrooper. That way you can recreate the whole, like, them boarding the Falcon thing, which I know isn't really accurate, but, like, you get where I'm going with this train of thought. So, as much as I love the inclusion of Vader, it is just a weird choice. I would love if, like, they tackled this set again, that they would just, you know, get rid of the weird Vader selection and just actually include a 3PO and R2-D2. Like, that would just be a perfect, complete Millennium Falcon in my mind if they were to retackle this. Now, anywho, that being said, if you are considering picking this set up in a sealed state, roughly looking at Bricklink here as the time's recording, it's going to set you back about 350 Canadian dollars plus. Again, finding it brand new sealed. You can find this used. Sure, it's not that bad. I mean, again, the only thing you're worried about in terms of missing pieces that are one-offs are probably going to be the stickers. But, I mean, when you compare the fact of that price point to the fact that you get the Dark Falcon, the most current-to-date Playscale Falcon, for 240 Canadian, that extra 150 for nostalgia probably is worth the price, if I'd say. You get a unique well, for the most part, unique cast of minifigures that is complete for a New Hope recreation, if that's what you're going for, and the build, like, isn't too horrible. Like, I'll have this proudly on display with my other Millennium Falcons, but, like I said, depends what you're going for. If you're a minifig guy, if you're just nostalgic for this set, time period kind of guy, whatever you're looking for, this set isn't horrible, but it definitely has better versions out there. So, that more or less is my thoughts on this set. Let me know your guys's in the comments section down below. Do you actually own this set, or what is your favorite Millennium Falcon? Let me know. I'd be curious to hear. Anyways, guys, thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in a future video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.